There's a really simple process I follow when I design my ponds. It's a process that's given me consistent results over the years, and it's also helped people all over the world build ponds that are easier to maintain and more enjoyable to live with. Now, none of this is really new or revolutionary, but if you've never built a pond before, or maybe you already have a pond and it's giving you problems, these principles can make a huge difference. But before we get into it, if you don't already know me, my name is Kev, and I help people build and maintain ponds without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, you might like to subscribe and check out my website, Ozponds.com. This whole thing started for me because I wanted a pond, but I couldn't afford a pond professional or all the expensive filtration systems. I needed something that was easy to understand, affordable to build, and most importantly, easy to maintain. There's heaps of different ways to build and filter a pond, but over time I realised I preferred simpler systems that were forgiving and low maintenance. I'm pretty lazy, honestly. I don't want to constantly be pulling things apart, cleaning complicated equipment, or chasing problems. I also don't like putting holes in the pond liner if I can avoid it. You definitely don't need to build a pond with liner, but personally I like liner because it gives you lots of freedom with shape and design. The liner is the one part of the build where I generally don't cheap out, but cutting holes in it or seaming pieces together has always made me a bit nervous, so over time I started designing systems that avoided that wherever possible. But anyway, the first thing I think about when designing a pond is volume. How much water will the pond roughly hold? That's important because the amount of water we're working with influences almost everything else in the system. It also doesn't need to be exact. Most people actually overestimate how much water their pond will hold, and that's usually completely fine because oversized filtration systems are generally safer and more forgiving anyway. The next thing I think about is what's going to actually live in the pond. Different animals create different amounts of waste. A couple of ducks in a tiny pond will foul it pretty quickly, whereas a few small fish might have very little impact at all. You also have to think about how much food is entering the system. For me personally, I generally try to create ponds that are fairly self-sufficient. I want them to mostly take care of themselves. That means I'm usually not dumping huge amounts of food into the water every day. The food becomes more natural, bugs landing on the surface, small aquatic creatures, some algae growth that the fish graze on, and little ecosystems developing naturally inside the pond. But obviously the more animals you add, or the more food entering the system, the more waste gets produced, and the more filtration we need to process that waste and keep the water healthy. So once I have a rough idea of the pond volume and the animals I'll keep, I can start thinking about that filtration. At a basic level, filtration's pretty simple. Waste enters the pond through fish waste, leaves, dead plant material, excess foods, and all sorts of natural processes. That waste breaks down and releases nutrients into the water. Some of those nutrients can become harmful to the animals in the pond, and they can also fuel excessive algae or plant growth. So the goal of the filtration is really two things: trap some of that waste and process the nutrients into less harmful compounds. Now technically it is possible to build a pond with no filter or pump at all and have it perfectly balanced. But outdoors there's so many variables. Dust blows into the ponds, leaves and twigs fall in, things die and decompose, rain changes water chemistry, seasonal changes affect the nutrient levels. This is much different to an indoor aquarium. Outdoor ponds are constantly changing, so having a properly sized filtration helps smooth out those fluctuations and create a more stable environment. The system I personally use has two main parts. The first part is some kind of skimming system. This is where the pump or pumps are positioned. The goal here is to remove floating debris before it breaks down inside the pond. Things like leaves, dust and floating organic matter get pulled towards the skimmer, and they're either trapped or they get moved on towards the main filtration system. The main filter is where the water gets purified and processed before returning back to the pond. But let's look at the skimming system first. There's three main styles I commonly use. The first is a traditional skimmer. You can buy proper pond skimmers, but I personally find many of them expensive and most require cutting holes through the liner. There are also floating skimmers that sit inside the pond, but for more natural looking ponds I generally don't love how visible they are, so over time I started building simple skimming systems using cheap buckets. The idea is pretty simple. You create a narrow, shallow opening into the bucket and hide it naturally with some rock, liner, or some kind of edging material. A pump sits inside the bucket, and as the pump draws water through the narrow opening, it creates surface tension and pulls floating debris into the bucket. To protect the pump, you can cover it with a coarse sponge, which catches larger debris and stops the pump from clogging. You simply rinse the sponge out occasionally and remove that captured waste. The second option is my favourite, and it's what's called an intake bay. This is basically a supersized skimmer. The principle's the same, but instead of a small bucket, we create a much larger chamber. We cover the chamber with a thin layer of rock and pebble. Water gets drawn through the narrow opening into this larger void area where the pump sits. The rock and pebble act as a natural pre-filter, trapping larger debris before it reaches the pump. Smaller particles continue through to the next stage of filtration. Intake bays are excellent for lower maintenance systems, especially if you have lots of leaves falling into the pond. The pumps are placed inside some kind of accessible vault. I've used old olive drums, bins with lids, or you can use all sorts of repurposed containers. You can get really creative depending on what materials you have available. The third option is a negative edge, and this is a bit more of an advanced setup, but it is great if you have a slope or you want additional water storage. In this design, the water overflows the edge of the pond into an underground reservoir. The overflow creates the skimming action naturally. The underground reservoir is usually filled with matrix blocks or some kind of structure that supports the rock on top while maximising the amount of water storage underneath. The pump or pumps sit inside this reservoir. Again, they're in an accessible vault, and they pump water back to the main filtration system. These systems are a little more technical and they will be more expensive to set up, but they can look fantastic and work really well depending on what your goals and budget are. But importantly for me, all three of these systems can be built without cutting holes through the pond liner or seaming multiple liners together. So that's three options for the skimming system, and now we can move on to the main filtration system. The goal here is to trap finer waste and grow lots of beneficial bacteria. This is really what all pond filters are trying to do. They want to trap waste and grow good bacteria. You don't need to fully understand the science yet, but the important thing to understand is that these bacteria need wet surfaces to grow on. So generally speaking, the more wet surface area a filter has, the more bacteria it can support and the more nutrients and waste it can process. There are all sorts of filter systems and filter media designed around this idea, but the system I personally use most often is a bog filter. The way I think about bog filter design is pretty simple. The size of the filter should roughly match the amount of water we're filtering and the biological load inside the pond. What that means is messier animals or more feed require larger filters. That's why there's really no one-size-fits-all answer. For this reason, I created a free bog filter calculator on the Ozponds website to help people size them appropriately. We also want a slow and steady flow of water through the bog filter. This gives the bacteria good contact time with the water, and it also helps heavier solids settle inside the filter instead of being pushed back into the pond. Plants also play a role here. Their roots provide additional surface area for bacteria and microbes, and they can directly absorb nutrients from the water as it passes through the filter. There are a few different designs I commonly use. One is an above-ground bog filter in some kind of container. Another's an aquaponics style grow bed. If you don't know what aquaponics is, it's the combination of keeping fish and growing vegetables. And the third is an in-ground bog filter. But all of them work on the same basic principle. Water moves slowly through rock, pebble and plant roots. It traps waste, it grows bacteria, and returns clean water back to the pond. And they all can be designed to be really easy to clean if they're planned properly. But rather than do a deep dive into every design in this video, I'll link some articles and videos on the Ozpond website where I show how I build these systems in more detail. The important thing for this video is understanding the overall process and how the pieces fit together. So we have the pump or pumps inside our skimming system, and we pump the water to our main bulk filter. The bacteria and plants clean the water, and then it overflows back into the pond. It's also worth noting the positioning of these two filters. If possible, we'd like to have the skimming system to be positioned where the wind will naturally blow debris. If there's a prevailing wind at the time of year when most of the leaves drop, we want to place our skimming system there. That way we aren't fighting the wind. This skimming and bulk filter combo is the heart of the whole system. From there, I can start to think about other elements I might want to add on. Do I want to add streams or waterfalls? Do I need additional circulation, maybe an extra pump to help move waste around? Should I add any aeration? Will I be adding natural elements inside the pond like rock and pebble? And as I think through these things, I like to create a very simple sketch. Nothing fancy, just enough to visualize how all the components connect together. Because once you start adding things like streams and waterfalls and extra circulation, other parts of the system will change too. For example, waterfalls often require higher flow rates than bulk filters, and that might mean larger pumps, which may require larger skimming systems. And by sketching everything out, I can start playing around with sizes, flow rates, and budgets before I actually build anything. Good ponds don't usually happen by accident. They come from thinking through the system as a whole and understanding how all the components affect each other. You definitely don't need to understand everything straight away, but you do need a logical process. I can use the sketch to estimate my liner costs, my pump sizes, my filter sizes. So hopefully this video gives you a bit of an insight into how I think about pond design and how I approach building my own ponds. I've put together heaps of free resources on the Ozponds website, including calculators, articles and videos that can help you design and size these systems yourself. But if you want a more step-by-step approach, I also created the Pond Formulas Blueprint, and that really came about because people were constantly asking me for help with their ponds, and this was the best way I could help as many people as possible while still protecting my own time. It is a paid guide, but it walks through the same design process I use in my own ponds. It includes diagrams, build videos, calculators, an AI assistant, and access to a private community following the same basic principles. But either way, whether you use the blueprint or stick with the free content, I genuinely hope you find something here that helps you build and maintain your pond without spending a fortune. And if you found this useful, you might like to watch this video on how I build my bulk filters next. Thanks for watching. See ya.